All right, welcome back in. It is the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler Ed and Chris Clark along with you here on your Thursday. We head out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines and welcome in a former Gamecock alum, former member of the Gamecock Central staff, and currently on the SEC network, of course, Alyssa Lang. Alyssa, appreciate you joining us this morning. I got to imagine it's probably pretty fun around the office and the station when the Gamecocks are good, especially now that we can say that they are a top 10 team once again.
Yeah, it's fun for me, certainly. Thank y'all for having me. I actually was just telling some of my colleagues last night as we were getting ready for our show and putting everything together that if this continues, prepare for me to be insufferable. And I know they all are taking me completely seriously when it comes to that. I can't remember being this excited for Carolina football since, honestly, I was in school when we had the great years of Jadeveon Clowney and Connor Shaw, and of course Steve Spurrier in the last few years of his career. So it's definitely a lot of fun right now to be a Gamecock in SEC country.
Hey, Alyssa, it's Chris. Thanks for coming on with us today. So let's start here. The South Carolina Virginia Tech game for you, kind of little extra special. Not only the Gamecocks opening the season, but you got some family ties to Virginia Tech. Know people who follow you on Twitter at Alyssa Lang. Saw you watching the game with some family this week. Tell us just how that was as you went through it.
Yeah, it's really honestly kind of bizarre when I think about my college football fandom and how it's sort of culminated in this 2025 South Carolina team. So both of my parents went to Virginia Tech. I was raised on Hokie football. We were in Blacksburg every weekend that I can remember throughout college football season, and then at times for college basketball when Tech was good. But I was raised on really some incredible college football in the late 90s, early 2000s with Frank Beamer. I told this story when Shane was hired, and I was a little embarrassed when I heard that Frank had actually heard the story. My childhood dog's name was Beamer. When I was 8 years old, and we got a dog, we named her Beamer after Frank. Like, that's how insane fans we were. And fast forward, I end up going to South Carolina, and we have love for that school as well. My dad kind of starts pulling for South Carolina, and then lo and behold, now Shane Beamer ends up at my alma mater, and I get to watch, quite frankly, one of my college football heroes in Frank wear Carolina gear in my school. And it's just the craziest full circle college football fandom that I could ever imagine. I joke that I cannot believe that Frank Beamer and his wife Cheryl watch the SEC network and have seen me on TV before. 9-year-old Alyssa would be screaming about that. So yeah, it was bittersweet sort of watching the game on Sunday. I had no qualms about who I was pulling for, obviously. And I will say, my dad, though he wants Virginia Tech to return to the glory days and get back to where they were, he came out in the second half in a Carolina shirt because that's how much he loves Shane Beamer and the Beamer family. So he was pulling for both despite having the degree from Virginia Tech. So it was fun, and I'm very happy about the result at the end of the day.
Again, talking to Alyssa Lang of the SEC Network here on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. And in that game, we saw a huge play from Nick Harbor late with that touchdown, 99 yards and a score on the game. Should have had two, if we're being honest, with that one that got taken away. But I saw y'all were talking to him earlier on this morning on SEC Now, and I'm sure that's not the first time you spoke to him. Very impressive kid, very confident, and we're now finally starting to see him emerge as the wide receiver we hoped he would be when he got on campus a couple years ago.
Yeah, and you used the word finally. It's true, and that's why I asked him. One of the questions that I asked him in that interview, which was, hey, there's so many people who don't really know what this journey has been like for you and don't really know where you were as far as not having played the wide receiver position when you got to school and truly, in a sense, having to learn how to be a receiver. And it has taken a little bit, right? Like, you talk about expectations, and when a guy like that gets off the bus and is making the Feldman Freaks list and is what he is on the college football video game, of course people are going to expect him to contribute right away. And the first few seasons weren't necessarily what we all hoped they would be. But to start the game early with a catch, and then, like you said, a touchdown, should have been two. Yes, I think we all fully agree with you. this could finally be the Nick Harbor, as I tweeted, video game season that we've all been waiting for. So it had to be as well, right? I mean, you look at what this team brings back offensively, and outside of everything South Carolina lost on defense, that was the question that everyone has been asking me, asking on television, is who's going to catch the footballs from Lenora Sellers? If Nick Harbor's not rounded into form, yeah, we saw flashes from Mazio Bennett a season ago, but obviously that's a young room with some relatively new names from a national landscape. So seeing what we saw from Nick Harbor game one gives me so much more confidence than I have ever seen from him, from this young offense going into the rest of the season. I just hope they can keep it up and continue to build on that.
So one of the other things that you dropped on social media, Alyssa, was the power rankings for yourself and for your colleagues at the SEC Network. So Dari, Ben Watson, Chris Doring, of course, that crew over there, y'all do a great job. You and Ben Watson both have the Gamecocks sitting at number 3 in the conference out of 16 teams, of course. LSU, Georgia, you guys agree right now, are the top 2, but South Carolina in the top 3. I know you've had to justify your rankings. So what have you seen just conference-wide that has South Carolina up there, and what are you seeing just in general week 1 through the conference?
Yeah, thank you for saying that Benjamin Watson also has South Carolina at number 3, because the social media comments, you would think that I'm the only one that has South Carolina at number 3, which is fine. I knew I was going to get some accusations of bias there. It's okay. It's an impossible exercise, let's be honest, to rank 16 teams through week 1, especially knowing what those matchups look like, right? Texas goes on the road to Ohio State, defending national champions, and then you've got a team like I had on Saturday, Kentucky, taking on Toledo, and they barely scrape out a win against the Toledo team. So I said this last night on the show. These are all just purely based off of week 1 games that we still don't really feel super sure about. And I'm pretty confident in saying that I think my teams ranked at 7 through 16 could honestly plug and play anywhere, and you could make an argument for any of those placements. Why I put South Carolina at number 3, obviously the caliber of the opponent, and I'm not saying that Virginia Tech's a team that, we're screaming and shouting out of the ACC is going to go make the playoff or win a national championship, but looking at the fact that it was a neutral site, it's an emotional game, it's a Virginia Tech team that should have been better this season. That, for me, carries a bit more weight than some of the other matchups. Outside of that, especially when I look at the top 5, I believe I went LSU 1, Georgia 2, South Carolina 3, Texas 4, A&M 5, and Tennessee 6, if I remember correctly. A lot of that for me is just based on quarterback. LSU and Georgia are those teams on paper that you can look at and go, okay, LSU, number 1 transfer portal class in the country. They go on the road to Clemson, gut out a tough win. They lean on their defense that they haven't been able to do in the last couple of seasons. To me, LSU, based on what I saw, I do believe right now is the argument or is the contender for number 1 team in the country. For Georgia's sort of the Kirby Smart effect, right? Like Kirby has reloaded, not rebuilt every single season. I liked what I saw from Gunnar Stockton. You hold Marshall to 0 points and under 100 yards through 3 quarters, knowing that you're getting 3 and 4 deep on that defense, that says a lot. Now, after that, for South Carolina, I would sit there and go, okay, the Texas fans, the A&M fans, the Tennessee fans that are screaming at me saying, no way, South Carolina's better, I would ask you, which quarterback would you rather have after week 1? I'm taking Lenora Sellers every single time based off of what we saw. So that alone was what put South Carolina top 3 for me, is knowing that, yes, Lenore's made some mistakes and there were some things we need to clean up, but that's the case for everybody during week 1. I saw enough to see that he has continued to develop from last season, the way he cut through some of those defenders like butter early in the game all the way until the end on that, 3rd and 13 in the 4th quarter. That was unbelievable for him to pick up a first down. That is all the argument I think I need to say, all right, switch quarterbacks then. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of rational people out there who are actually going to do it. I think people want Lenora Sellers.
Only about 90 seconds here before we have to hit a break. You have Alabama at number 10. You're not as low on them as Chris Doring is, but where's your panic meter in Tuscaloosa at right now?
Yeah, I mean, you have to put them there because you're not supposed to lose that game, right? Like, we have to be fair here in these rankings for what people showed us. If Alabama doesn't improve, the panic meter is going to get high. I was one of those people who was high on Alabama going into this season. I really thought the defense would take a step forward. They were missing some key pieces. Tim Keenan on the defensive side, Jam Miller on the offensive side. If they can clean that up, certainly next week against Wisconsin will be the next big-ish test. I'm not hitting panic yet, but we certainly need to start sweating a little bit if we see the lack of effort this upcoming weekend again against UL Monroe.
I was going to say UL Monroe famously beat them back in that bad 07 season, so got to watch out for the Warhawks too.
Their last unranked matchup loss at home was that 2007 game against Louisiana Monroe. They have not lost to an unranked team at home since. Could you imagine?
Oh, man, time is a flat circle sometimes. She is Alyssa Lang from the SC Network. We appreciate you taking your time. Know you're very, very busy, and we certainly enjoy watching you and your whole crew there on the network, and look forward to another fun weekend this weekend.
You guys are the best. Can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, rolls on as your Thursday continues here on the game.